Hey everybody, Elizabeth Nader back with you, Jersey First TV and the Nader Narrative. We are bringing you the congressional candidates who have stood up in New Jersey to change Washington, D.C., and we want you to meet them. So I'm really excited to bring to you an incredible candidate running in District 9, Billy Prempeh. Billy, welcome to the show.
How's it going, Elizabeth? Thank you for having me again. I love being on here.
I always look forward to interviewing you because you have such energy, such commitment and passion for this country and this state. So let's start with the most important question in my mind is the why question. You know, it's not easy to run for Congress. It's a sacrifice. It really is. It's a commitment. It takes discipline. It takes hard work. You're putting yourself out there. So why did you decide to do this?
Well, this is our second go. This isn't my first rodeo. I ran in 2020 because I was sick and tired of the direction that our district was going in. And my opponent, he's been in there for longer than I've been alive. He's been involved in politics, and he no longer represents the will of the people. So I decided to get involved in 2020. I ran against him. Even though I wasn't successful, I definitely made a tremendous impact, and I did a lot better than many people thought I would do. We got a significant amount of votes. We added an additional 30,000 unaffiliated voters to vote for Republican. We got more than anybody in the past 35 years. And in 2022, our district has gotten significantly better. It's gotten a heck of a lot more competitive. We've picked up a lot of Republican towns. And I believe we have the ultimate opportunity to turn the tide in District 9, especially considering what the Democrats have been doing for the past year. It's only been 1 year under the Biden administration, and everything's falling apart. So I'm coming with new ideas. I'm coming with a platform and a plan to actually fix America and put it back on the right track, while my opponent is just focused on division, talking about January 6th, President Trump, and a bunch of things that the average American doesn't really care about. They want to live their lives. They want opportunity. They want to be safe. That's the things that they care about. And he's just trying to cause division.
So your District 9 has changed in redistricting, which
Yes.
just happened after the census. So how is it different than it was last time you ran?
So it's significantly different because in the previous district, it was a D16. And many people said, oh, it's not possible. You're not going to win. But, we defied the odds. The good news is now we're a D9 district. And in 2020, Bill Pascal didn't come out. He didn't vote. He thought I wasn't going to do well. But I did. And now he's out and about. He's campaigning. He's shaking the hands. In fact, I ran into him a couple of days ago in Clifton, and he threatened to send prosecutors after me because he believes that he's being stalked. I don't know who's stalking him, but that's not me. But that shows that he's getting very paranoid. He's feeling a little bit scared of what's going on. And to protect myself and for everybody else, I'm not sending anybody. I don't want anybody to stalk him. I've already informed the authorities, and I filed a report just to, let people know I got nothing to do with that. Right. But it shows that he's on his toes, and he really has to come out and campaign. He's not going to win as easy as he did last time.
Yeah, that's much different than the last go around where nobody saw him. So that's interesting that he's very concerned. Well, the temperature of the nation and of the state certainly has changed. And, the way you ran the campaign last time, you really just got so many people excited. You've had national interest in your campaign. You've obviously captured the attention of people, and it's something unusual about you and your message. What do you think it is that resonates so much?
Well, the messages that I talk about are common sense kitchen table issues. Like, these are the issues that people are talking about in front of their table, that are talking about with their family. Our education sucks. We're spending way too much money on our education, and our children aren't coming out with any type of life skills. And I want to provide life skills. We don't have many opportunities and jobs. My children, they go to school, they come out of college, they get a really expensive degree, they're in debt, and then they work at Starbucks. So there's not the issues that I bring to the table aren't, this is what Republicans want or this is what Democrats want. These are all universal issues. We have a little bit of distrust in our election process. Democrats thought there was a fraud in 2016. Republicans believe that there was fraud in 2020. Well, I'm trying to bring reform to actually secure our elections and make it a transparent process. The things that I'm talking about, everybody can get behind. And I think that's what's really important. I'm not here to waste time talking about how bad the Democrats are, how bad Biden is, and the results are apparent. You can kind of see it for yourself that they're not doing what's in the best interest of the American people. So by focusing on those messages, we're able to do a heck of a lot better this go around.
those messages and those issues. Now, I know that you work really hard. I know that you do a lot of door knocking, and you've been to places and neighborhoods that politicians don't visit. And so you've had a chance to really talk to the people. So if you were to share with us what their top issues are, what are you hearing consistently from your constituents?
The consistent things that I'm hearing from my constituents is absolutely number one is safety, public safety, especially in District 9. I live in Patterson. It's one of the largest cities in the district. There's the violence is unbelievable in this community. And just last year, about 4 or 5 people in my own neighborhood were shot and killed, unfortunately. Because of this, they want more police. They want funding for our police. They want strong people to represent our community and keep us safe. And to the people outside of Patterson, we're paying so much in taxes, and we're not getting anything back. We're not seeing anything of it. Our roads are terrible. Our infrastructure is falling apart. Our education is terrible. They're teaching children all kinds of crazy gender theory and CRT and many things that that disassociate people from unity and creates a lot more division. And the people want common sense issues. They don't want to be put into this box that the progressives, and I call them the progressives specifically because there's a lot of common sense Democrats that I've met. We may not agree on everything, but for the most part, we have a lot of common ground in the middle. The progressives that want to push us into let's stop all fossil fuel, and we're just going to go straight to sustainable energy, even though the technology is not at that point. The ones that want to have abortion post-birth, the ones that want to take things absolutely over the cliff. The average person doesn't identify with that. And a lot of the moderate Democrats are starting to find themselves pushed to the side where they're finding themselves as quote unquote conservatives, even though they're not. But they're just thinking in a very common sense way. But this is a good thing for not just the Republicans, but the country as a whole, because the people that are pushing these kinds of ideas, they're alienating the rest of the country. And they're backing themselves into a corner that nobody wants to hang out in.
Well, it's interesting because we are a two-party system, and we probably will be always. It's been hard to ever pull off a third party, but your district, as a lot of districts do, have many unaffiliated voters, or you may want to call them independent. They haven't accepted the label of Republican or Democrat. Do you believe that you can reach them and have them see that, especially with the social issues, that they actually agree with you as a Republican?
Oh, absolutely. Because in this district, in the previous map, there were 202,000 Democrats, 179,000 unaffiliated voters, and only 70,000 Republicans. But when we ended off the election in 2020, we got 98,000 people to vote for me, a Republican. First time it's ever been done.
Wow.
And the reason why that is because the people that are in the middle, they get discounted as, well, these are votes for people that'll never come out, they'll never come and talk. But the reason why is because they've seen what the Democrats have done for the past 40 years. The Democrat Party's policy, they've always been in control, and they don't identify with that. They don't identify with Republicans because they've never actually met a Republican, or the typical standard Republican idea is what they get from television. There's nobody out there to actually present those ideas. So when I was going door to door and I was meeting with the people and telling them things like my freedom of education plan, and telling them about my plan to revive America and revitalize our infrastructure in the former manufacturing towns like Patterson, for example, a lot of people agreed, and they couldn't really determine, is this guy a Republican, is he Democrat, or is he just common sense? Yeah. I happen to be a Republican because I have very conservative values, but when it comes down to that, I know some people are not going to be as conservative as me. So let's focus on the things that do matter. We need better jobs, right? We need better education for our kids, right? We need our community to be safe. We need to actually get something for the taxes we're sending to DC and sending to Trenton. If we're not getting that back, then it doesn't matter who's Republican or who's Democrat. The ideas suck. So I'm talking about the ideas that are common sense, right down the middle, and it's going to bring everybody together and get us to push our country forward rather than fighting.
So the State of the Union was last week, and it was a bit disturbing to watch. I think most people who watched it, were shaking their heads. What are the things that keep you awake at night, if in fact you stay awake at night worrying about what's going on in DC? What are those top things that you think, oh my gosh, we have to fix this now?
So one of the things that really shocked me and really upset me from the from the State of the Union address was the fact that Joe Biden's talking about how much he's going to help Ukraine. We're going to back Ukraine, we support Ukraine, we love Ukraine, and all that stuff. And all that stuff sounds nice and dandy. But at the end of the day, if you're still purchasing oil from Russia, and now you're trying to work out deals to purchase oil from Iran and Venezuela, you're practically shutting off our energy independence, and you're collecting energy from enemies that don't really resonate with the United States. You're practically funding both sides of the war. You're trying to help Ukraine, yet you're backing up Russia, and you're putting us into a corner where we don't have any energy. I mean, look at our gas prices now. I was in South Jersey about 2 or 3 days ago, and just to fill up 1 gallon, it was $4.67, and that's in New Jersey. So I can only imagine where the country is going to go if we continue to go down that same path.
We have a fan in the office. All right, that's great. Yeah. It's a living, breathing office. So energy independence obviously is a very big deal. Just wager to guess why Biden would do this. Why? I mean, it's something that we almost find illogical, but it's not just him. Right? It's an entire force of people who do not want us to have energy independence. What can you surmise their reason for that would be?
Well, I'm not in Biden's mind. I don't think anybody's in his mind. I think that his ideas aren't great. But one thing I can say is when I saw the State of the Union address, it seemed like he did a complete 180. Everything that Republicans and President Trump was talking about for years, things that I've been talking about for years, suddenly Joe Biden saying like, oh, he wants to secure the border. He wants to invest in technology to actually detect when people are crossing our border, right? Something I've been talking about for a while. I went to the border. I've seen how terrible things were. And now they're realizing how backwards their ideology was. You know, there's literally hundreds of videos of many Democrat leaders, including Joe Biden, talking about taking funds from the police and sending it somewhere else and defunding the police. Yet during the State of the Union, we need to fund our police. We need to keep our community safe because we already see what the long-term effects are. It's like when you make those kinds of decisions, it trickles down to the common person. And when we start to feel those effects and we're going to go out and vote differently, I think they're trying to turn around and kind of get back on the right track. Because when I was watching State of the Union, in some parts, I'm like, didn't Donald Trump say that last year?
Yeah.
You know, he literally said that during his last State of the Union. And now you're saying the exact same thing. But when he said it, he was a racist, he was a bigot, he was a psychopath. But now they're going back around. But that's what makes me very confident for 2022, because if they're flip-flopping on their ideas, the American people aren't blind. We saw what happened in the past year, just in the past year of Joe Biden being in office, right? And now they're going on another path. But we've been saying this for years, right? So I'm very excited for that. Everything that Joe Biden has done thus far, I think is a testament to what will happen in 2022. I think we're going to pull up a lot of seats. I believe that the Senate is going to flip several seats. And I believe in local races, like a lot of Republicans are going to do very well.
Yeah, agreed. So let's fast forward to January when you're a congressman. And I want to dig into your platform because you've got some great, unusual, really leading edge, but they're common sense ideas. So tell us about your priorities in DC.
So one of my main priorities in DC is, and this is the number one thing that I would like to do, is push for term limits. I think it's something that's absolutely necessary. If we can limit our president to 8 years of being in control of the United States in one of the most powerful seats ever, I think the same should be done for Congress. 10 years for Congress and 12 years for the Senate. The longer someone sits in office, and that's whether Democrat or Republican, historically, you look at the track records of any sitting congressperson or senator that's been in office for more than 10 or 15 years, eventually that you start to see that their positions and their beliefs start to become more personal focused rather than people focused. They no longer represent the people. Right. I think that's very important that we do. I think it's also important that the people that leave the Senate and also leave the Congress should be banned from lobbying for the next 10 years, because sometimes people come right out of office, they become lobbyists, and then they sell to the people that they're friends with back in, and it just kind of creates a cycle of corruption. And I think that's something that absolutely needs to end. Madison Cawthorn, congressman in North Carolina, I spoke with him quite a bit when we were in Florida about pushing through the term limits plan, because who exactly is going to vote themselves out of a job, right? The way that I see that we're going to be able to do this is he came up with a great idea. Everybody that is in Congress currently right now will be exempt from that bill. Anybody after the fact will be subject to those term limits. But if you're already in and you're a terrible congressperson, you're a terrible senator, you better do really good because you're gone. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a common sense way to get that in. the second thing that I think is very important is what I call the freedom of education plan. I think it's one of the most important things that we need to do for not just New Jersey, but for America. We have to invest in our children's education. We have to invest in their future. And like, as you know, Elizabeth, I'm a big proponent of school choice. I love the school choice programs. But I also believe that we can't leave behind our public schools. Our public schools are failing. And if they're not doing well, I think we can improve the curriculum in some form. And the way I see that is by implementing job training and having masters that have completely mastered their craft, people that are involved in IT, the sciences, the trades, finance, and so forth, to come into our schools, to give them a tax incentive to teach the children how to do what they do at an expert level, so that by the time these kids graduate freshman to senior year, they're leaving school with a certification. If you want to go to college, great. You drop out of college or you don't finish college, you got a certification where you can work for someone as an apprentice or build something out with your friends. You know, it's an opportunity for us to invest in our future, because rather than bringing people from overseas to fill these jobs and close that skills gap, we have a strong and eager workforce already here in the United States. So let's invest in them. And the third thing that I think would couple with the freedom of education plan is something that I call the Revive America plan. And it takes a page out of Donald Trump's Platinum plan that he never got a chance to implement in the United States. He wanted to spend a lot of money investing into the inner cities and providing opportunities for African Americans. But I want to take it to a larger level for everybody across the country. There's many cities similar to Patterson, like Newark, Detroit, where manufacturing was a super powerhouse in a lot of these cities. But then, you know, after the NAFTA agreements and several things that were written in the past, it was just cheaper to do business in Mexico or do business in Taiwan or China and move out. Well, that also left behind several buildings that have completely fallen apart into disarray, and they're an eyesore in our community. Nobody's doing anything with them. So what I would like to do is, what this bill would call for is, it would give a tax incentive to any business owner that's willing to take control of that damaged property. You bring it up to code, you get it up to OSHA standards, you make sure everything's safe, and you'll get a tax incentive to bring your high-paying manufacturing jobs here. An even better incentive is if you hire people from within the district to fill these positions, you'll get a tax incentive for doing that as well too. Not only will that bring more bring back more income into our communities, but it'll provide high-paying jobs, and it's already going to tie hand in hand with the freedom of education plan. We're already training our children to do these kinds of things. Why don't we bring manufacturing back? And I think this is the best way that we can do it. Patterson's not just going to benefit the entire country. And there's many, many more, but I know we're coming up on time.
Well, it's a great idea. And I want to point out something. You said the entire country will benefit, but this is an example of a congressman coming up with something specific for his district. You are, after all, there to represent the people in your district, and they have an issue and they have a problem. And Patterson specifically has this. So I think anytime we can see someone actually solving problems in their district, which is what we should be looking for in every congressperson that goes to Washington, that's amazing. So Billy, great platform. I'm going to just do a quick lightning round with you. Okay, very quick, and a few things you left out, and then we'll close out. Second Amendment.
I'm 100% for the Second Amendment. You know, and it's funny that you bring that up. About a week ago, right around the corner from where I live, right, when I was out in CPAC, two stores, I know the store owners as well too, a cell phone store and a little bodega around the corner from my house, they both got robbed at gunpoint. Now imagine how different things would have been if they would have been able to at least be able to defend themselves, or at least have a firearm, or at least make it known that, hey, we've got a gun in the store, don't play around. We don't have that kind of stuff, right? So these people, they get to run wanton, and they could care less about what the next person says. The criminals are not going to follow the law regardless of what you put in place. So the restriction on the Second Amendment, it does nothing but harm the average American citizen that just wants to live their life in decency. So I'm totally for support of the Second Amendment. I'm for educating the public on how to properly and effectively use firearms. And I'm for educating the people about it, because if we're not educating people, if people aren't able to protect themselves, and police can't be everywhere at all times, if we don't have any kind of independence, the criminals know that, and they will use that against us.
Yes, right. Okay, how about medical freedom?
huge supporter of medical freedom. I mean, people have been calling me Captain Convoy. I don't know if you saw it on the past convoy not too long ago. I was hanging out the top of a Ford pickup truck, me and my campaign manager, and we led that convoy down. Like, if somebody wants to go and take the vaccine, that's totally up to them, and that's cool. If you believe that your doctor is making the right determination and you think it's best for you and your family, absolutely go for it. The problem that I have is when they hang the carrot over your head like a horse and say that, hey, if you want to have a job, you got to take that jab. You want to come in that store, you got to show us that card. You want to do anything, you got to wear the mask. I'm not for that. I'm for 100% freedom. If you want to do it, cool. But don't force me and anybody that doesn't want to do it to do it.
All right, great. A place that you have visited, the border. Tell us about that.
Oh, everything you think you've seen about the border, it's 50 times as worse out there. And I want to secure the border. And very quickly, I want to get into something that I call the American Dream Plan as well, too. We have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of illegals that are already in this country. It'll be very difficult for us to deport every single one of them. This is a fact. What we do need is we need more judges to actually process these cases of people that are already within the United States, as well as also streamline the people that are trying to get in the country effectively. But that's not going to be possible, and I don't even think that should be done until we completely secure our border 100%. Once our border is secure and we've got the judges in place to actually process these cases, I offer an ultimatum to the people that are here in this country illegally. All right. If you are what the American Dream Plan calls for, similar to Trump's plan for Dreamers, but it goes into a little bit more detail. If you are in this country and you can prove that you've been in the country working for the past 5 years, like let's say you work in construction, you work in whatever you're doing, and your boss wouldn't be penalized, the employer won't be penalized if they can prove that you've been working for 5 years. It's provable income, right? What happens next is you're going to begin to get taxed moving forward. You're going to be on a probation period for the next 10 years. If you get arrested, if you have any kind of violation, you commit any kind of crime, you're out. However, you do not commit a crime, you pay your taxes, you act as a normal American citizen, you do everything right, and you've been here for at least 5 years before this law is enacted, with provable work history, and you have proof that you can actually sustain yourself, will allow you to stay, will grant you the citizenship after 10 years. And I think that's totally fair because, look, we shouldn't be rewarding you just because you're in poverty or you're in a struggling situation. But if you could prove that you can actually give back to America and help America move forward, I think you have the right to become an American, but you have to earn it. You have to earn it. It shouldn't just be given to you.
What a great idea. I love that plan. Well, we need to send you to Congress so we can get all of this done. So listen, I want you, as we wrap up, to tell people how they can support you, where they can find you, online, events, donations, let them know.
So if you'd like to volunteer for the campaign, you can go to www.billyprempeh.com/volunteer. On that website, you could also make donations if you can max out, that'd be fantastic. Because we need that to go up against the machine that we're fighting right now. So please make a donation if you could do that. If you'd like to knock doors, make phone calls, you can volunteer at the website and do that. And if you want to learn a lot more about my platform, because there's a lot more, we only have 20 minutes, you can get on that website and learn a lot more about that. My phone number is also there. You can give me a call, I'll answer, and I'll speak with you.
He will answer, you guys. It's true. Billy, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your courage and standing up for our state and for our country, and we wish you the best.
Thank you for having me, Elizabeth. God bless you.
You got it. And to my